Long before shirts, shoes, or woven fabrics existed, humans still had to face freezing winters, scorching deserts, sharp rocks, relentless insects, and unforgiving sunlight. Naked skin alone wasn't enough to survive every environment our ancestors entered. Yet clothing, as we know it today, hadn't been invented. So, how did ancient humans protect themselves? The answer begins long before the first needle, the first loom, or the first piece of cloth. It begins with a simple realization: the human body could be covered using whatever nature provided. The earliest humans who lived in warm regions of Africa probably needed very little protection from the climate. Their bodies were already well adapted to hot environments. Sweating efficiently helped regulate temperature, while reduced body hair allowed heat to escape more easily during long-distance walking and hunting. But as humans gradually spread beyond Africa, everything changed. New landscapes brought colder temperatures, icy winds, heavy rainfall, and harsh seasonal weather. Places that offered food also introduced dangers the human body wasn't naturally prepared to handle. Survival demanded innovation. The first coverings were almost certainly temporary, rather than carefully made garments. Large leaves could shield skin from intense sunlight. Bundles of grass could be wrapped around the waist or feet while crossing rough terrain. Flexible tree bark offered another layer of protection, especially when softened by soaking or pounding. Animal furs might simply be draped over the shoulders without any stitching at all. These weren't clothes in the modern sense. They were practical solutions created from whatever happened to be available. Among all natural materials, animal hides eventually became the most important. Every successful hunt provided far more than meat. Skin became an incredibly valuable resource. Thick hides blocked cold winds. Fur trapped warm air close to the body. Leather protected against thorns, rocks, and abrasions during long journeys. But using animal skin wasn't as simple as removing it from the carcass. Fresh hides quickly became stiff, rotten, or infested with bacteria if left untreated. Early humans gradually discovered ways to preserve them by scraping away fat, stretching the skin, drying it, smoking it over fires, or treating it with animal brains rich in natural oils. These methods softened leather and dramatically increased its durability. Remarkably, many indigenous communities continued using similar tanning techniques well into recent history. For thousands of generations, knowledge like this passed from parent to child without ever being written down. Eventually, simply wrapping hides around the body wasn't enough. Movement mattered. A loose animal skin could slip while running, climbing, or carrying children. Archaeological discoveries suggest that by at least 40,000 years ago, humans had begun making bone needles with carefully carved eyes. These tiny tools changed everything. For the first time, people could stitch pieces of hide together into garments shaped specifically for the human body. Sleeves appeared. Leg coverings became possible. Fitted clothing trapped heat far more efficiently than loose blankets ever could. This innovation allowed humans to survive environments that had previously been nearly impossible to inhabit. Without tailored clothing, Ice Age migrations into northern Europe and Siberia would have been extraordinarily difficult. But clothing wasn't only about temperature. Protection came in many forms. Insects carried disease. Thick vegetation scratched exposed skin. Hot sand burned bare feet. Dense forests hid sharp branches. Covering the body reduced countless everyday injuries that could become life-threatening without modern medicine. Some materials also surprised researchers. Long before woven cotton became common, ancient people experimented with plant fibers. Flax, hemp, tree bark fibers, reeds, and grasses could all be twisted into cords or woven into simple coverings. Evidence from several archaeological sites suggests that humans were producing cordage tens of thousands of years ago. Those cords became ropes, nets, baskets, and eventually textiles. The invention of weaving didn't happen overnight. It likely evolved through countless small discoveries made over generations. Someone noticed twisted fibers became stronger. Another realized crossing strands created stable surfaces. Over time, these observations developed into woven mats, bags, blankets, and finally clothing. What began as survival gradually became craftsmanship. As societies developed, body coverings also started carrying social meaning. Different materials reflected local environments. Arctic communities relied heavily on fur because warmth mattered most. Tropical populations often preferred lighter coverings made from bark cloth or plant fibers. Desert cultures adapted loose garments that reduced direct sunlight while allowing airflow. Climate shaped fashion long before fashion existed. Decoration soon followed practicality. Ancient people began adding feathers, shells, beads, dyed fibers, animal teeth, and colorful pigments to what they wore. Clothing slowly became a way to express identity rather than simply protect the body. Someone's appearance could reveal age, achievements, family connections, spiritual beliefs, or social status before a single word was spoken. Even body paint often worked alongside clothing rather than replacing it. Ochre, charcoal, white clay, and mineral pigments covered human skin for tens of thousands of years. These colors may have served ceremonial purposes, frightened enemies, protected against insects, reduced sun exposure, or simply allowed people to express themselves artistically. The exact reasons varied from one culture to another. What remained constant was humanity's growing desire to shape not only survival but appearance itself. Interestingly, archaeologists rarely discover ancient clothing because organic materials decay quickly. Leather rots, plant fibers decompose, animal fur disappears over time. Instead, researchers rely on indirect evidence. Bone needles, scrapers used for preparing hides. Microscopic were patterns on stone tools. Preserved footprints, frozen bodies. Even parasites provide clues. One particularly fascinating discovery involves clothing lice. Unlike head lice, clothing lice live primarily in garments rather than human hair. Genetic studies suggest they evolved after humans began wearing clothing regularly, offering scientists an unexpected way to estimate when garments became widespread. Sometimes the smallest creatures preserve the biggest stories. One of the best-known examples comes from Otzi the Iceman, whose naturally preserved body remained frozen in the Alps for over 5,000 years. His outfit included leather leggings, a grass cloak, a fur hat, carefully stitched shoes insulated with plant material, and clothing assembled from multiple animal species. His wardrobe wasn't primitive. It was expertly engineered for mountain survival. That discovery reminds us how misleading the word primitive can be. Ancient humans weren't carelessly wrapping random skins around themselves. They observed nature closely, tested materials through experience, and refined techniques across countless generations. Every improvement reflected careful problem-solving. The history of clothing is really the history of adaptation. Humans couldn't grow thicker fur like bears or migrate with the seasons like birds. Instead, they changed their environment to suit their bodies. A stitched hide became a portable shelter. A woven cloak became protection against wind. A pair of insulated shoes opened landscapes that bare feet could never cross. Every jacket, coat, and pair of shoes we wear today traces its ancestry back to those first simple coverings made from leaves, bark, grass, and animal hides, proof that one of humanity's oldest innovations began not with style, but with the determination to endure. Clothing also quietly transformed human migration. Every time our ancestors entered a colder valley, crossed a snowy mountain pass, or settled in a region with harsh winters, they carried more than tools and fire. They carried the knowledge of how to protect themselves. Unlike other animals, humans no longer had to wait for evolution to reshape their bodies over thousands of generations. A better cloak, warmer boots, or thicker stitching could solve a problem within a single lifetime. That ability gave Homo sapiens an extraordinary advantage, allowing them to occupy environments ranging from frozen tundra to tropical rainforests. Perhaps the most remarkable part of the story is that no single person invented clothing. It wasn't the work of one brilliant mind, but the result of countless small discoveries made by ordinary people over tens of thousands of years. One generation learned how to soften leather. Another found stronger fibers. Someone else perfected stitching or designed footwear that lasted longer. Piece by piece, those innovations accumulated until clothing became something far greater than protection. It became one of the defining technologies that allowed humans to spread across nearly every corner of the planet.